All right. Good morning, everybody. So hopefully you got that fresh cup of coffee, that bag of popcorn, some licorice, whatever you need to settle in for today's entertainment. Turn off the cell phones. Let's talk about product data management. So I am Joe Frank. I'll be your presenter for today's webcast. I am one of the application engineers here at Fisher Unitech. I admit it, I am a PDM junkie. I love all things PDM, and I guess now I have to say all things PDM and SOLIDWORKS Manage. Got a lot of experience in automotive, 25 years worth, between doing a lot of admin efforts over the years. As some of my coworkers like to say, I've seen it all. I've gone from pencils to PDM. Yes, I've got a few whiskers, so I know what it was like to draw on a drafting board. I cut my teeth with pencils and T-squares and seen it all come around to CAD systems and all the way up through PDM systems. So a lot of us have seen a lot over the last few years. So with that, let's get started. We've got a lot of information to talk about today. So the agenda, I always like to give you a little limbic opener. There's a lot on my brain. Let's get a lot of this stuff out on the table and talk some turkey. What are we going to cover? Well, we're going to talk about PDM Basics to start. I always like to do a little refresher. For those of you that have PDM in the room, sometimes that seems a little bit off base because you're like, well, I'm already using PDM. I'm pretty deep in the trenches of it. And that's good, but if you were attending any of the rollouts this year or last couple of years, I always like to poll the audience and get various different results of, what is PDM. But I still like to talk to the people in the room that are not PDM users that are here trying to get a grapple of what is it, what does it have to offer. So we're going to cover the basics. We'll go into the advanced topics. We're going to get into some key hitters that we've had a lot of feedback from customers on in recent months. And then I want to obviously talk a little bit about Manage. So, and don't worry, mixed in there in that advanced section, we're going to definitely cover what's new for 2019 with PDM. So a lot of people salivate for just those few slides alone. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. PDM Basics. So again, this is a great thing for any of you that haven't made it to our rollout events. Well, if you're in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, I'd say jump in your car and drive really, really fast because the rollout for Cincinnati is actually happening this morning. Don't know if they have breakout sessions this afternoon, but if they did, you'd actually be seeing this exact slide deck in the PDM breakout. So, PDM Basics. Let's get into what we want to talk about here. So, what is PDM? So, I have to say, over the last few weeks of doing the rollouts, I like some of the responses. You hear the classic responses like revision control and collaboration, but I heard someone say, well, it's about accountability. I thought that was an interesting reaction, and then somebody said, well, process control. And okay, I agree with that. I like the way they're applying a different word. Transparency. And oh, that's interesting. And then one guy got applaud for saying it. He said, bringing sanity to the insanity. I thought, well, yeah, I guess that's an absolute valid answer to what PDM is. I think I polled him with, give me a one-word answer or a short phrase answer or what you think PDM is. So, what is it? It is all that. It is about collaboration. We know who's checking out files because we can clearly see it, and that locks the file down so nobody else can mess with the file. We've all played that lovely, miserable Windows game of, the last person to save wins. And you don't really realize that game's being played until two of you open the same file off the network drive in the morning and you chug along at it for, a couple, 3 hours, making a lot of good efforts to it. And then you save and take off to lunch, and then your boss saves and takes off to lunch, and you realize your changes just got overwritten. It does happen. When I bring that topic up to customers, I can hear a lot of grumbling in the audience. So, collaboration, it stops that from happening. Revision control, well, it sure is. It goes back to that process control, revision control. Yeah, I really love to know do I have the latest revision? What revision do I have? What's up on the server? It's about data reuse and history. We like to have a single version of the truth. We kind of start to appreciate that with a PDM environment, but it's also about being able to access that data, search on that data, find it fast, use the history and look at older versions or reuse an older version to make a newer version of a totally different design. But having that single source of the truth and that history and that searchability and those quick tools at our fingertips bring all that information around for us. So it's nice, even as a PDM user like myself or a lot of you in the audience, you've used PDM for a few years, but it's nice to be mindful of, oh yeah, you know, what is PDM doing for me, and what can it do for other departments if they have the same pain points that engineering and design have. So it is about versions and revisions. If you've ever had a demo from myself, I always use that analogy of the old filing cabinet, but you know, there are versions and there are revisions, and they are kind of two different things. They do interact with each other, but it's nice to know that PDM can keep track of our revisions, and it will never delete information. If you save and check it in, there's a new sheet of paper, a new version for that file. It never overwrites. Well, we could turn on that feature as PDM admins, but as we all appreciate, there's rare and few cases to which I'd want people overwriting existing data. I mean, that takes me back to almost a Windows environment. So we got a little fresh reminder of what is PDM. So for those of you in the audience that are not PDM users, you know, hopefully your gears are turning and you're thinking, yeah, I need to call my sales guy up. I got to get Joe to do a demo. Let's see what's going on. Maybe PDM can take away some of those pain points for you. So let's get into what's new. Well, first thing right out of the chute, Web 2 got a long-needed overhaul. Is it done? No. Does it have a ways to go? Yes. But the nice thing is, you know, they improve the navigator bar. They give you some resizing and sorting and choosing of columns. They redid the entire interface so it fits the screen more correctly, trying to support other devices. So it is improving. They're giving it some attention. So for those of you that are using Web 2, we all know that some of its capabilities are a little bit short. Check out 19. Ask for a demo of it or do the upgrade, and I think you'll find that they're on the right track. I still think we got a ways to go, so keep filing those enhancement requests. If there's things it's not doing for you, hit us up. We got to get those SPRs in, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's how SOLIDWORKS will work on this. Obviously, being a Web 2, you'll notice these little corner little tick marks I put in here where it says Pro. That's a Pro-only feature. So if any of you folks are using PDM Standard, you don't get Web 2, but you probably already know that, and Web 2 probably isn't a real need for you in a PDM Standard environment. But I put those on the various slides where appropriate just to help people. Last thing I ever like to do is a bait and switch, make somebody that has PDM Standard think they're going to get a new feature with 19. E-drawings, got some big improvements here, long wanted. Before, you had to open up e-drawings and double-click the files, obviously, and get them into e-drawings as an app alone, and that was how you could bounce through your configs. Now, you can get it right from within our Vault view. So there is a couple things you'll learn. We had to fight through it as well. It wasn't noted that you had to add the display data mark. So you'll have to set that on your config, save the files, you'll check them in, you'll see the icon will change a little bit for your configs, and then for those files, you will see that. If you don't do that to your configs on your current files or older files, you will not see this feature pop up in the Vault views. So it takes a little bit of work, but as we move forward, updating our files and setting those check marks, then we'll get the benefit of the e-drawing. So for those of you that use configs and wanted to have that feature, it's moving forward. I think it could come a little bit more, but I like what they've done so far, and I got a few customers that are already giving it a thumbs up. What else is new? Notifications have got a nice little overhaul. So we finally have conditional notifications. Any of you that use notifications know that at times it can be a little bit of a Rube Goldberg when it comes to your workflow. We have to have multiple transitions, and in those transitions we set the conditions so that, oh, if this is happening to this variable, then notify this person. But if that happens, well, then don't notify him, notify someone else. So there's all those different notification transitions, and it kind of makes our workflow look a little sloppier and a little harder to debug at times. So they've given us some conditional notifications. Long wanted, pretty nice add. So don't be shy to start looking at doing some house cleaning on the workflow, leaning it up on the workflow side and putting the heavy work back into the notifications where they belong. History. We've got some ability. We can actually update history on files we didn't create. We can update history of other versions. It's maybe not something I want turned on for everyone. So yes, there is a place to block this setting. Obviously, as they add features, they're cognizant of us admins saying, I don't want everybody to have that ability. But there is the ability to do the updates and make changes to versions where applicable. I've seen a lot of customers that say history is a little goofed up and they'd like to go back and make some notes, make some comments. We have that ability finally. don't like to say we're changing history, but we're at least able to comment on it and clean it up a little bit. Right mouse button menu. So I got a lot of applauding for this one at the rollout events. Some of us didn't even notice it, but that's okay. If you were in a couple of your menus, in particular, your Contains tab and your Where Used, you'd right-click on a file and you didn't have a full menu. It's like, well, that kind of stunk. Now you do. You can see we've got the full Monty of menu ideas. So they finally said, let's get that pushed back in so people can do anything they want from right within both those tabs. Sheet metal, flat patterns. Honest, they're there. It's real. I promise. Some of you are probably saying, what are you talking about, Joe? Well, for those of you that were in the rollout last year, we were running beta, and we were running the rollouts and saying this exact same thing. And then 18.0 came out, and I was trying to demo it, and my vault wasn't working. And I was talking to Steve Fick and the guys, our territory manager, saying, what's going on? It got pulled at the last minute. There were some bugs with it. So it is there. It is in 19.0. So, yay, it's back, kind of sort of for real this time. But what does it do? Well, for those of you that are into stampings and you like your flat patterns, if you're using PDM, we're doing a little bit of custom scripting, and we're making a flat pattern off of the drawings. And that's great when the scale is the way it should be, and it's not so great when the guy in the shop comes in and brings you a tinker toy for stamping because the scale wasn't corrected. People kind of grumble when that happens. But now it's able to do it off the part file. It can sniff the part file as a flat pattern, and it can be told to automatically make the DXF or the DWG. That's nice. Now we don't have to worry about scale issues. So pay attention to you guys that are doing that. Might be a nice change for you for the stampings. Makes it nice for throwing those nests, getting it out to the shop to the nesting program. Must enter version comments. Yeah, this was one thing that a lot of customers like, but then we have problems with everybody having to enter comments, or geez, I'll lock it down to just a group of users, but now everybody in design is grumbling because they got to enter comments. It was a nice idea, but because it was kind of limited in how we could roll it out, a lot of customers turned it back off because they got yelled at by a lot of people saying you're making too much work. Well, now those settings are the way they should be. They are transition and state level efforts. So we can dictate in what area of our workflow do we want to force our users to make those comments. Somebody's asking for a change or somebody's approving it. I want some comment or some conjecture. But regardless of where you want to put it in your workflow, as I felt, yes, it's nice that you finally gave us some flexibility with the ability to enter version comments. I think if you stop and think about that, you might find some places where it is a worthy place to now put it in and deploy it, and we can start getting that history to look a little bit more populated, make the users put a little bit of thought in. Yeah, I know we're all busy, we're running by the seat of our pants 100 miles an hour, wearing 6 different hats, but you know what, if we enter comments in our history, it is good down the road. We can look at that and go, oh yeah, I remember why I made that change, or yeah, I know what that version of that part's doing. So look at using it, gang. It's a good thing. Support for configuration-specific cut lists. Anybody using Weldments, you should be applauding right now. There was a problem that when we were at the configuration level, this would not happen, and they fixed it. So depending on which config you're in, now we can actually see. Like here, they were looking at the bomb quantity. So it helps. So don't be shy to play around with that. Again, it's for the folks that are using Weldments. Another pro feature, it's obviously is in PDM standard, but SOLIDWORKS inspection. If there's any of you that are using inspection, this is where you're going to wake up, put your coffee down, put your cell phone down, take a look at the screen. If you're not using inspection, keep checking your email. It's okay. This one is for inspection integration. If you are taking our PDM classes, our admin classes, you're setting up a vault, you'll like to know that we're building some complimentary videos that go along with folks that have had or taken our admin training class, because there will be videos helping you understand how to set up inspection. And it doesn't stop with inspection. It also goes into NBD and a couple other products. Toolbox, how do I put Toolbox in a PDM environment? So we're making some videos for you folks on how to grow that PDM environment. Not that we don't want you to come to us. We'd love to support you with our consulting team, but sometimes we also promote the phrase, teach a man to fish, teach a man or a woman. The whole idea is get you out there learning how to work that environment yourself. So what else has come new? Well, they're letting us work with getting information to push to multiple drawing sheets. In the past, that was an issue. So now when we start creating or adding new sheets, we can have stuff pushed to that. We can get it to push in all configuration, push to multiple sheets. That was a sorely lacking issue in the past. If there's any IT folks in the room, IT/PDM admins, mixed mode is now allowed. You're not stuck with just one or the other. Yay! A lot of times we've heard that during implementation. So evidently there was enough people complaining and the squeaky wheel got the grease. They added that change for this year. Now we're going to jump into some advanced topics. By the way, there's probably a few more things, but time keeps me from going into them. Don't be shy to go grab that What's New document. Don't be shy to look at the admin documents. The guide has a lot of that stuff. The What's New document has that. Go check out SOLIDWORKS website. Do your customer login. If you can't find it, you're having problems locating it, hit us up. Hit tech support up. We'll gladly give you the documents for the various products and what's new. I don't want you guys wondering if you should be doing an upgrade sooner rather than later because you're missing out on some feature that's a real pain for you that you've been waiting for an SPR. You can see the list of those SPRs. A lot of you, if you've actually been working with us, you get added to those SPRs, and you probably should have got an email already that said a problem was fixed on the next service pack coming out. So now we're going to jump into advanced topics. First one I want to cover, there's been a lot of, if you look on our website, I did some, and the link is down below, but you can just go to our website and click on our blog page. We've got a 3-part blog that I created and wrote a nice technical document because a lot of you folks are calling in talking about what I like to define as PDM topology. Ooh, big fancy word. How about just PDM architecture? Or how about how it's all laid out in the IT room? How did the IT guys build this? What's the server like? Where are the clients at? How are we structured? A lot of us as PDM admins, we don't necessarily worry about this, but look at those questions I've got on there. Has it changed? Has PDM changed recently? Are you new as a PDM admin? Has your company grown in recent years? Maybe through an acquisition or through a merger. You know, you bought a division or you're the one being bought and you're being absorbed by another parent company. You know, if you answer yes to one or more of these, then you should reinvestigate your topology. Now, IT is probably already on top of this thing, but as a PDM admin, you should be noteworthy of what's going on. Not that, you know, you're necessarily instrumental in what IT is doing, but you are in some aspects, and that is, hey, we just bought a group of users, and they use SOLIDWORKS, but they have their own vault. We got to talk about merging vaults. Or they use SOLIDWORKS, and they don't use PDM at all, and I want to add them to our environment. Well, how many users are we adding? You've got 20, and I'm adding 2? Or you got 5 and we're adding 15, well, guess what? That latter, we best be talking about those servers and that added load of people hitting the database. So there's a lot of things that cause you to raise an eyebrow and say, topology, architecture, why should I care about that? PDM, when we start taxing it harder, things can happen. We need to understand latencies. Ooh, big word that IT hates hearing because people like to hang their hat on latency being a problem. It's not always about latency, but the blogs that I wrote, there's, again, 3-part series, talk a lot about latency, talk a lot about are you having problems with you think PDM is slow or it's a little lethargic. Well, there's some simple testing we can do. I wrote a technical document for our support group, and you can read a lot of that information directly from this blog series. And you can do some testing on your own and see what you should have for dragging and dropping a set of files into the vault, for checking them in, for transitioning them. Simple commands that should not take a lot of work. I had a customer that said, hey, Joe, I did your file set off your blog, and you said it took 5 seconds, and mine took like 183. Yeah, you got a problem. Let's get on the phone together and see what's going on. Turned out he had some, I said, a pinball machine for his initial transition into the vault for his CAD files, and poor files were doing 150 different things before they could even land in a state. And I said, well, there we go. It was nothing to do with IT, nothing to do with network cables and servers and blah, blah, blah. Had everything to do with how PDM was set up. And I said, well, now that you understand that, we either got to make changes to your vault environment or we're going to accept it and eyes wide open moving forward. So again, topology. Don't be afraid of it. Understand it. Read the blogs and give us a call if you think you got an issue. Advanced topic. Again, another one is templates. A lot of you are probably using templates. So when I point out, in this case, the ECN template, then you've got an ECN, you're going, been there, done that, using it, love it, it's awesome, great. Electronic approval process of engineering changes. But it's a form of a template. A template is a cool tool inside PDM to try to automate a process. If you have a finite process going on, like we all know PDM can do with our, it's a phenomenal workhorse inside workflows, we can release our CAD data. All right, well, we can do things a little more automated with an EC process too. We can walk that process through a release and an approval, and we can help there. As some of you may know, templates do a lot more than the EC process. We can make folder templates for getting project folders created and subfolders and documents pollinating them. There's a lot of things we can do with templates. If you're not using templates and you're in PDM Pro, stop and think, why not? If you've been using PDM for more than a year or two, PDM Pro, and you don't have a template set up, I would like to almost talk to you, because I bet you're not using templates, and you probably wished you should after we chat for a half an hour, because we'll probably dig up 2 or 3 places where you could have a template and make life a little bit easier for your users, a little bit faster. As I say, start making PDM pay you back, some return on that investment. Another one is workflows. We all got our workflows, but does it have to be a simple workflow like this one on the right here, or does it have to be a really complicated one like this one here? Well, I can tell you this one has haunted me on more than one occasion, because it's very hard for a PDM admin to sort through and sift out issues when it's acting up. This one is not too problematic. But notice this, even the simple one has multiple paths. I can run right down the middle here, or I can run down this fast track path, or I can involve purchasing or not involve purchasing. And you look at that simple little workflow and you say, wow, that's a rigid workflow, yet a flexible workflow. That's kind of a neat thought. Rigid, but flexible. Why? Because we don't do things the same every day of the week. Monday through Thursday, we do things one way, and on Friday afternoon when it's helter-skelter, we do things a little bit differently. We got to rush things through because we're working the weekend and we're running really busy because the economy's awesome. Well, that means maybe we didn't make our workflow right. We made our workflow the way we thought, but it doesn't account for all those opportunities. So I just want you to think about workflows as a PDM admin and say, yeah, is that workflow doing what it should? Maybe you need our help. Maybe you want to know some best practices. Maybe you got some ideas and you just don't know how to put it into a workflow. Give us a call. We've made thousands upon thousands of workflows for thousands upon thousands of customers. We've probably been there, done that. Give us a shout. Advanced PDM, again, another topic, jumping into reports. A lot of times people forget that, yeah, you got to get into a little bit of SQL querying, you got to get into a little bit of language maybe you're afraid of, but you know what? There's a lot of really cool canned reports that you can get straight out of the box for PDM, and maybe if you started taking a look at those as an admin, you'd find out that you could tweak one of them and make it do what you want. So if you're trying to gather information out of PDM, you're starting to push it harder, you probably are starting to tamper with reports or wished you would, well, don't be shy. Give us a call. You'll be amazed how many of them we've written or that are out there that you just don't know, and you could start looking for those report files, and we can teach you how to load them in through tech support, or heck, we can make a little project and create the report for you. All depends on how complicated it is and how much time you do or don't have on your hands. But don't forget about reports. It's an area that typically is not used, and once somebody does draw on it, they're like, boy, I wish I'd have found that years ago. Dispatch. Oh, there's another one. I kind of jokingly call this poor man's programming. You don't have to know VBA. You don't have to know C#. You just got to know how to use dispatch. And I can make a lot of commands, like these commands listed here, happen inside PDM. I can start to stretch PDM and push it a little harder. You're not going to break it. Dispatch is there for a reason. But again, this segues into, these last 2 or 3 slides have segued into what I want to talk about here. Don't forget that, yeah, Fisher's here to help you. We want to teach you to fish. That's great. But if you want to learn it yourself, don't be shy. We got a couple classes. If you want to take our advanced PDM class, yes, there's an advanced PDM class. If you've already had the PDM Pro class and you've been adminning for a couple years, you want to take our 307 class. Lindsay Early is chomping at the bit to teach you that class. A lot of you know Lindsay's name. She's been around Fisher for years. She worked in tech support for years. She's been doing consulting and implementation, and she saw the sorely needed ability to give you folks an advanced class. But a lot of you just don't know it exists. Please pick up the phone, take a look at it. It's on our website. It'll tell you the pre-requirements that we'd like to see you have. For those of you that are just hardcore junkies, want to get into some serious meat and potatoes about PDM, or SOLIDWORKS for that matter, we've got some API fundamentals class. Brendan Collins, our programmer in-house, that guy is phenomenal at teaching both these classes. There's one for SOLIDWORKS, and the one listed here is for PDM. You'll learn all the calls and the behind-the-scenes stuff to get in and making some serious script, but that's not for the light at heart, faint at heart. As I say, for most PDM admins, you would really love this 307 class because you will get into making several dispatch programs to write some really cool stuff. And I think when you leave that class, you can do a lot of application and grow through dispatch. So again, there's a couple classes out there, folks. Don't be shy to take a look at the website and see what's being offered. You know, these classes are all remote. They're all online. You know, you're usually chatting with Lindsay, jumping on your server, doing a little sandbox of a vault and testing something out, or maybe you're up in our Fisher Unitech Live, jumping on our server farm so you don't have to worry about crashing your server. It makes IT breathe a little easier, but we got a couple different ways to set you up. Don't be shy. Give us a call. So now, talked a little bit about PDM. We talked a little bit about the basics. We jumped into some what's new, jumped into some advanced topics, kind of keeping us all getting a little deeper into the tall grass. Now we're going to take a big leap out into the field. We're going to talk about Manage. Talked a little bit about this last year at the rollouts. We've had a lot of customer interaction, I actually must say, over the last year. Been doing a lot of demonstrating of this new product. And I'm here to remind you about it again. If you're pushing PDM, and you're starting to feel like it just doesn't do what you want it to do, you're trying to stretch it more, it's probably because you're trying to push from a PDM system into a PLM system. Why? Manage is out there. Take a look at it. If PDM is pushing you, I'm going to say it again, you feel like it just doesn't do what you need it to do, there's more you want out of it, it's probably because you're starting to think about a PLM system. This is not a huge PLM investment like a lot of companies do to get into much larger PLM systems. This is what I'd like to nickname PLM Lite. But it covers 4 key areas. It covers project management, process management, item and record management, and dashboarding. And it builds, utmost importantly, it builds on PDM Professional. PDM Professional is a very document-centric system. You've probably heard me say this phrase before if you were at last year's rollout or seen a demo, but it's a document-centric system. It's all about documents. It's all about that workflow. We push physical documents through the workflow. We put physical documents in the vault. We manage physical documents. Well, this goes into a record-centric system now, and that still may mean nothing to you, and it's just confusing. It's 2 phrases, but it takes the handcuffs off, and it lets us do a whole lot more. So let's take a little bit of a brisk look at these 4 areas so that you can appreciate these 4 pillars of Manage. What can they offer me, and do I need any of these 4 pillars? Then I need to start looking at Manage more closely. So first off, project management. Just as the pillar's named, it does exactly what you kind of expect. You're going to see Gantt charts. You're going to be able to create a Gantt chart. You're going to be able to load from a template of a Gantt chart. You're going to be managing a project or a portfolio, many projects. You can have multiple projects built into Manage. So we can build those Gantt charts from scratch, we can build them from templates, and they can even have stages built in and estimated times, and even have some tasks baked into them already. But the cool thing about the Gantt charts inside Manage, they're not static like in Microsoft Project. These are dynamic. Why? Because they work with timesheets, and we can roll hours up against the project. We can actually track our efforts. So, project management. Yeah, I definitely can't do that in PDM. Process management. Okay, what does that mean? Well, process management pillar is a lot like workflows inside PDM. Plain and simple. A lot like workflows. Nothing more than that, other than I will say it is pretty cool inside Manage. I could have a project that was, a project that wasn't released. It was just an idea. I approached management with it. I created this initial project that went through an approval process. Management said, thumbs up, that's a really good idea, Joe. Let's push it through for prototype development. We want to see if we can build some of these samples and make this thing work. Okay, well, I'm going to run that project through a process. It's going to go through management approval. Now, all of a sudden, it comes out the back end, and it's a real project. It gets a number assigned to it, and I can start booking hours to it, and I can start doing more information. But just suffice it to say, think about processes a lot like workflows and start to think, well, what are some processes outside engineering, outside CAD files, outside those two departments, processes that I want to implement into a system like this, a PLM system. BOM records, BOM and record management. So, what's that pillar all about? Bill of material and record management. Well, it's about making, simply put, a bill of material without needing a CAD file. Right now in PDM, you ain't got a bill of material if you don't have an assembly. Whatever's in that assembly is what's in that BOM. It's kind of a WYSIWYG. There's an old phrase from the early Windows days. What you see is what you get. So that's kind of how PDM works. If it's in the feature tree, it's in the BOM. Well, I can make PDM give me a bill of material, a named bill of material, and then I can edit it and then kind of make it as I want, to make my own variant, kind of, sort of. I can add some consumables. Heck, I can add them to the face of the drawing and use a drawing bill of material. So PDM's got some pretty good strengths for BOMs. But what if I'm doing a quote and I just want to create a totally, from scratch bill of material? I haven't been awarded the business. I haven't been given a PO. Why would I want to invest any time in engineering? It's one thing. Some customers want to see some preliminary engineering efforts, some preliminary drawings and models, and that's perfectly normal. We're all used to that. But if I want to throw together a BOM and put some costs together, it'd sure be nice if I could do that. Well, I can do that. I can create records inside Manage. I can create those records of information that stand by themselves. I can create a bill of material that says, hey, I'm connecting to PDM from inside Manage. Yes, I'm connecting to my PDM vault from inside Manage. Can't do that with a lot of PLM systems. So I'm going to reach inside my vault here, and I'm going to drag this assembly and this assembly and this part and that part, and I'm creating my bill of material. Well, I want to throw some specifications in that BOM too, so the customer knows, how this thing's going to be, baked and approved. So I'm going to throw them in there, maybe some assembly instructions and maybe some additional documents about some certifications or testing. Because why? I can put anything in that bill of material, any document, any record, anything from my PDM vault. I can connect all that together. Heck, I can connect to a third-party database. Ooh, what's that mean? I can connect to another vault. I can connect to multiple vaults. I can connect to ERP. Ooh, yeah, that's right. We can pretty darn easily connect to a lot of other databases. Why? Manage is just like PDM. It's SQL. It's just another database, folks. But Manage is very nicely baked on connecting to third-party environments, so that we were playing around and a customer says, geez, we just connected to this fake database and a half an hour of playing had some costing information in there. He said, now that bill of material I'm building to put on my quote actually is pulling from ERP and gathering some cost, gathering some existing inventory and letting me know if I even have some quantities existing to build a prototype quickly for the customer. It's like, wow. He kind of looked at me and he says, in the first 30 minutes of doing this demo, he said, just doing kind of a hands-on test drive, he said, I've done more than I've done in my current PLM system trying to reprogram that for about 6-8 months. So it was really an eye-opener when I heard him say, I was like, 30 minutes worth of a hands-on test drive, and now you're already doing changes in an admin level faster than you can do in your production PLM environment. So it has some pretty tangible capabilities that are worth looking at. Dashboarding and reporting. Well, we got those first three pillars, but they really aren't anything if we can't see everything. I want to see my dashboard. I want to know what tasks are assigned to me on different stages of a Gantt chart. I want to know what ad hoc tasks are thrown at me from a various project being pushed through a process. Maybe I just want to create my own tasks, but I want to see I got 6 different projects I've been assigned to. I can't keep track of all those in my brain. I got too many things going on, too many phone calls, too many emails, too many things running out in the shop, putting out fires. Fire up my personal dashboard and let it show me. Well, maybe I'm a manager. Well, I care about my dashboard, but I also care about running reports. Well, we can do that. It uses DevExpress behind the scenes. So if any of you have used DevExpress or you don't know anything about it, go punch up the word DevExpress and look in YouTube. Millions of videos. DevExpress has been around for a while. It's the backbone for doing reporting inside Manage. It's really nice. We actually can have dynamic reporting. Like if you look on the left here, these are all dynamic settings. So I got this cutesy little report coming out in DevExpress, but I can have all these dynamic settings that say, well, I do want to see the stages, or I don't want to see tasks, or I don't want to see timesheet entries stacking up in this report. Who's going to look at this report? CFO, CEO, engineering manager, shop guys, depending on who wants to look at this, they're going to want to hybrid that report. Those reports have those dynamic abilities. So again, this pillar really amplifies the other three pillars coming to fruition and saying, give my users the ability to see what's going on. What's important to my users? What's important to my managers? Dashboarding and reporting. So think of those four pillars, folks. Think about them. Do any one of those stand strong to you, saying, yeah, I've been trying to push PDM and I've been trying to take it into more of that PLM arena? Then maybe a demo is in order for you, or hey, at a minimum, give us a holler. We got some nice videos in our 2-win bridge environment. We'd be more than glad to send them to you if you're just kicking the tires, trying to get a little better feel. These, 4 pillars in these slides are nice, but hey, I got a nice 20, 30-minute video that is how I pretty much run a demo. And it might be nice to show around to the different groups and get some eyebrows raised. But you do have to have PDM Pro. It builds on top of PDM Pro. All the licensing for Manage is the same as PDM Pro. So the CAD editors, the contributors, and the viewers, same exact mentality. So with that, I feel better now. My brain isn't so full it's going to explode. But now, I thank you. That concludes our session for today.